Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Shabbat class, 25th of January of 2025. Okay, I'll be reading out of First Ezra, chapter 9, verses 37 through 55. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening, check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, and these videos will connect dots for you and lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. Okay? So, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Redeemer, the Lord of Hosts. Okay? Shalom and welcome to this channel. Welcome to our evening Shabbat class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, evening Shabbat prayer, or Psalms, do some current events, need to know information. And then we open it up for anybody with any questions or comments, okay, or anything they want to share. Then we'll go into our topic, like I said, First Ezra, chapters 9, verses 37 to 55. Okay. And if anybody want to pick a scripture, we'll break that down too. Okay. That being said, this moment of silence is for Lord of Hosts. All that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. Oh Lord, we come before Thee, thanking You for Your mercy and Your great power. And we come before You that You keep, direct, and guide us through this upcoming week. Oh Lord, for there are trials and pestilence and mayhem at every turn. And for this cause, we honor and respect You greatly. Turn not Thy face from us, but allow us in our searching of You to find You, O Lord, and to dwell with You. Peace be unto You. Okay. Read the Psalms. Okay. 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 It's 58. Psalms 58. Denunciation of the wicked. Do ye indeed spread righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Yea, in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They are astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is like poison of the serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of the charmers, charming never so wisely. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth, and break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Lord. Let them melt away as water which runneth continually. When he bindeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces, as a snail which melted. Let every one of them pass away, like the untimely birth of a woman, that they may not see the sun. Before your pots can fill with thorns, he shall take them away as with a whirlwind, both living and in wrath. The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance, and he shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked, so that a man shall say, verily there is a reward for the righteous. Verily he is a God that judges in the earth. Okay, so that was Psalms 58. Anybody have any comments on that? Okay,
Shalom.
okay,
The comment is like on verse 3. Would that be more
okay.
as if the everything will work out in the end? That the wicked, but the righteous person will, over, will be at the end. Everything will work out, even though the wicked is doing things. The, but the Lord of hosts will work it out where the righteous person will be in the end rewarded.
Right, okay. So verse 10, the righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance, and he shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. Okay. Anybody else got any comments on that?
Shalom.
Okay.
In verse 11, can you expound on that last part of the verse where it says, "Verily, He is a God that judges in the earth"? The "in the earth" part. Shalom.
Okay. Let me get it. Okay. So that a man shall say, verily, there is a reward for the righteous. Verily, he is the God that judges in the earth. It's the Lord of hosts. I was explaining the other day when you see in the scriptures in several places it says the Lord is in the heavens and his footstool. So the footstool is Yahweh is in heavens and Michael is his footstool. So Michael is judging down here. He's on the side of the Father, but he's also coming back and forth. The earth is the most high, is the Lord of hosts. Is Yahweh's footstool, and that's what the Lord of hosts, the God of the whole earth, is at, judging.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so the prime example that is let me get it. Prime example is let me see. Okay, I'm thinking it's Haggai. Zechariah. That's what it is. Yeah. Um, I'm always going here, but if you see in Zechariah uh, chapter 4, in start at verse 2, it says, and he said unto me, what seest thou? And I said, I have looked, and behold, candlestick of gold, a bowl upon the top of it, and seven lamps thereof, seven pipes to the seven lamps which are upon the top thereof. So when you understand that, that's the menorah. So he's in the Holy of Holies. Then it says, two olive trees, verse 3, two olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl and the other upon the left side of the bowl. So he's inside the Holy of Holies where the menorah is. And these two olive trees is, like I was talking this morning, you got a covenant with David, the king, and you got a covenant with Aaron, the high priest. Those are the two anointed ones that goes inside the Holy of Holies once a year. And the Lord of Hosts come down on the mercy seat in between those two cherubims, and they sacrifice a goat for all of Israel for atonement. But if you go to verse 12, it says, and I answered, Zechariah said, I answered again and said unto him, what be these two olive branches, which through the two golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves. This the oil I was talking about in Zechariah, I mean in Ezekiel, not Ezekiel, but Numbers 30, I think it is Numbers. And he answered me and said, knowest thou what these be? And I said, no. Right here, verse 14. Then said he, these are the two ones, that's the king and the high priest that stand by the Lord of the whole earth. That's Michael. So he comes down from heaven on the day of atonement, come down the mercy seat. And that's the God of the whole earth.
Thank you.
Okay. Um, Anybody else got anything on that? Okay, so we'll do some current events.
Other U.S. bank has just closed down. And this is just the start because according to the FDIC, they are saying that there's 60 U.S. banks on their what they call problem list. Yeah, it's a huge issue. But this may just be the beginning because we're also hearing rumors and many reports that workers at JP Morgan Chase are considering unionizing and potentially walking off the job and fight for better pay. I want to break down what's going on and how many people could be impacted. Right now, we know about 82 million people is what JP Morgan serves. That means we have 80 plus million people that could be struggling to get their money out of a bank for many reasons. I'll break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. Takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoyed these daily updates. And now let's begin. So before we get to the big news on JP Morgan and how workers are threatening to walk off the job, we need to address what just happened the other day. Look at this. It says bank abruptly shut down by U.S. authorities in first bank failure of 2025. This was only 24 days in to the new year. Okay, let's look at this. It says U.S. regulators have abruptly shut down a bank in Illinois in the first bank failure of 2025. It says FDIC says the Illinois Financial and Professional Regulation has closed Lasky Savings Bank. It says the FDIC has been appointed as the receiver and has transferred all deposit accounts and most of the bank's assets to Millennium Bank. Goes on to say the FDIC says it will have to pay $28.5 million from its deposit insurance fund to cover the cost of the failure, pointing to suspected fraud as the primary factor driving the expense. Okay, now this is troubling, this is concerning to say the least, that another bank has failed. Now, this wasn't the biggest bank, okay? Don't worry about that, but it's what FDIC says after that, okay? Look at this. It says in December, the FDIC said 68 American banks are on its problem list, meaning the firms are experiencing financial, operational, and managerial weaknesses that could reasonably threaten their soundness if unresolved. Says the U.S. witnessed 2 bank failures last year, starting with the closure of Republic First Bank in April, which had $6 billion in assets and $4 billion in deposits. Then followed the First National Bank in Lindsay, Oklahoma, which was closed in October with about $107.8 million in assets and $97.5 million in deposits. But if breaking news, they were upset and the company made billions of dollars, and this is the thinking. Why wouldn't we just get a little bit of bigger bonus to come back to the office? Why are we being told that you're going to get a 2% pay increase, and then on top of that, you have to return to the office? Many people don't want to. There's a thing that says office mandate is explicitly targeting mass headcount reductions. Listen to this as well. Okay, I want to read this to you. One of the things that we're seeing right now, okay, is more and more companies are turning away from hybrid work. They want their workers back, mainly so that they can see them, that they can monitor what their employees are doing, and their employees are just working for them, not working for multiple companies. Okay, listen to this. It says hybrid work is proving to be a thorny issue for financial giants. On the one hand, Wall Street is an industry where the most important assets are a bank's human capital. Aggravate staff too much, and management could not only lose experienced bankers, those bankers could end up taking their Rolodex of trusted clients to a direct competitor. Okay. With that said, here's the concern. If JP Morgan employees decide they want to unionize in certain locations, they could do exactly what Wells Fargo did and Wells Fargo workers did just recently. That caused a lot of somewhat panic, caused a lot of concern amongst consumers as to whether or not their money was safe. Not necessarily that the worker's going to steal their money and run off with it. That wasn't the issue. The issue was, what if that specific location decides to unionize, and then that specific location decides to strike? Well, what if there's no workers at that location? For instance, let's say all the locations in Albuquerque are now closed because they have no employees in the building to work. All the employees are outside with picketing signs. What happens then? What if you need cash? What if you need to send a wire transfer? Right? What if you need a cashier's check? You couldn't go into the bank because it's locked. There's no employees there.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Shalom. While he was speaking about the banks closing,
But did you know?
what about, the insurance that the FDIC has for if something happens to the bank, they should receive no more or no less than 250,000, depending on what they had in the bank. He didn't mention anything about the insurance part of the bank not opening or closing.
Well, that's what a lot of was going on. It's the same with insurance companies. They getting people money and giving them insurance, but just as soon as a disaster comes, they pack up and leave. And the banks doing the same thing. They assuming, people assuming they have protection through FDIC, but when the time comes and the bank collapses, we see a lot of people coming up shorthanded without they're not receiving the money that they're supposed to receive because of the bank don't hold up on this end of the bargain when it comes to FDIC. And because of that, a lot of people withdrawing from banks, putting their money offshore and all different places rather than dealing with the banks. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, here we go.
ICS allies decided to fundamentally change the global financial system. What if they directly challenge the US dollar's long-standing dominance? This is not a distant hypothetical scenario. It is already happening. Under the leadership of Xi Jinping, China is actively reshaping the global financial landscape through bold currency agreements and diplomatic strategies, forging a new economic framework. At the heart of these efforts is the growing prominence of the Chinese yuan, which is quickly becoming central to global trade. Could this signal the beginning of the end for the US dollar as the world's dominant reserve currency? Let's delve deeper into the details. A key component of China's strategy is the implementation of currency swap agreements. But what exactly are these agreements, and why is China so intent on pursuing them? In essence, a currency swap is a deal between two countries to exchange their currencies directly, reducing the need for the US dollar as an intermediary. This arrangement makes trade more efficient and effective between nations. For China, however, these agreements go beyond mere financial convenience. They are a critical part of a broader global strategy. To better understand, imagine two countries engaging in trade. Instead of relying on a third-party currency like the US dollar, they agree to exchange goods directly, akin to bartering apples for oranges. On a global scale, this is precisely what China is promoting. In just a few years, China has signed over 40 currency swap agreements with other nations, collectively valued at more than $4 trillion. These agreements, particularly with emerging markets, are steering countries toward China's economic model. But why does China want to reduce its reliance on the US dollar? The answer lies in the vulnerabilities associated with dollar dependency. For decades, the US dollar has served as the cornerstone of global trade and finance, with the international financial system built around American institutions. However, this dominance comes with risks, such as exposure to exchange rate fluctuations, susceptibility to US-imposed sanctions, and financial instability. By promoting the yuan, China is offering an alternative, enabling countries to establish a more stable and independent financial system. Currency swaps are not solely about money. They are also about building trust and strengthening international partnerships. Countries such as Thailand and South Korea have entered into such agreements with China, signaling a deeper alignment with its economic strategy. For BRICS nations, in particular, these moves suggest a willingness to explore alternatives to the US dollar's global dominance. China's strategy is evident in its growing partnerships with countries like Pakistan. Recently, China and Pakistan agreed to conduct the majority of their trade using the yuan instead of the US dollar. This allows both nations to sidestep risks like exchange rate volatility and economic sanctions, fostering greater economic freedom. A similar pattern is emerging in South America, where Argentina has begun settling trade with China in yuan. This shift not
So he's saying that they're saying that 40 nations switched. That's not the ones that's not all the nations that's dealing with BRICS, but 40 nations then switched their currency. I mean, switched their dependency to the one, Chinese one. And then when, based on what we was talking about this morning, this is the reason why right here, that they building up this thing with the cryptocurrency to try to offset what they see happening right here. That's the whole purpose of it. Those what we was talking about, Stargate, all that is tied to what they see happening around them, and they're trying to offset it. Any comments, questions? Okay, go to some need to know information. I was talking about this, I think it was Wednesday. There you go.
Welcome back to my channel. It's an overcast day today in paradise, but I have some news for you. Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, has cut all aid to Africa and the Caribbean nations, my friends, in an executive order on the first day of office. Donald Trump has cut aid to Africa, and I will explain to you exactly what are these and how it will affect the Caribbean and Africa. But first off, I want you to listen to this video clip, which is about just 1 minute long.
Trump has signed a flurry of such orders on a range of issues, from trade to energy to climate and immigration. Many of Trump's executive orders will have an impact on Africa. Now, first is the suspension of foreign aid programs. The US is the world's biggest foreign aid donor, and a huge sum is directed toward Africa. Trump announced plans to establish an external revenue service. A major impact could be on AGOA, which provides African countries with duty-free access to the US markets for specific products. Next is the executive order that can impact Africa. It's America's withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. Its withdrawal from the Climate Pact could deal a blow worldwide. Trump has also signed an executive order for the withdrawal from the World Health Organization. It could undermine the efforts to bridge global health inequalities and leave African nations at a greater risk. the declaration of an energy emergency. This will impact African oil and gas producing nations like Nigeria and Angola.
There you had it, my friends. He will cut an agreement called AGOA that was set up to facilitate trade between Africa and the United States. Africa could ship their products or raw materials to America duty-free, something like that. He will cut all of that. No more aid. He will also cut medication as well, because you see he will no longer contribute to the World Health Organization and the Climate Act as well. You know, the Paris Accord, climate change that affect the Caribbean islands especially. He will cut all of that, my friends. And that's a lesson to be learned. We have to depend on ourselves. We can no longer depend on America. We can no longer depend on Europe. We can no longer depend on Asia. We can no longer depend on anybody. Africa and the Caribbean must come together and depend on themselves, my friends. The United States exit from the Paris Agreement will be bad for the Caribbean.
So this is what the Lord host is talking about when he says the rabbit fox knows his master and all this, and the fox and all that. But Israel, they don't know their God. Everybody else know their God, but Israel don't know their God. And what you're looking at is this is Pan-Africanism right here, wholesale. Not once that he mentioned God of the Israelites, saying that we have to do it on our own. We got to come together on our own. They didn't just totally throw it away to the Lord of hosts and the God our Creator. Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. I opened up for some questions and comments. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything from this morning? Something you want to talk about?
Yeah, shalom, brother. I did not get the name of the place, but this was an African lady, and they were trying to, reject her with that birthright, and this judge put a stop to that. I didn't get any pertinent information to confirm it, but that happened.
Oh yeah, I saw some of it. I didn't really watch it, but they were saying that because of that, they didn't put that particular executive order. They got it on hold. The judge put it on hold. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir. And this judge was quoted as saying that's just blatant disregard for the Constitution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I saw some of it, but I didn't watch all of it. But he was saying that the judge put a halt to what the Trump administration was trying to do for right now. Until they're gonna bring it up and set a court date for it. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Play this right here, then I'll go to the Apocrypha. Those Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, they came together with a army, combined army.
To none but African Union established the African Standby Force (ASF), the immediate establishment of an African High Command. The three Sahel nations have initiated the formation of joint military forces against these jihadist terrorists. That is the update right now. You see, I'm going to make this video very quick, and every point I'm going to raise will be relevant with your data and time watching this video. So don't worry, I got you covered totally. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger have just announced plans to form joint military unit with 5,000 troops to combat jihadist violence that has plagued their nations or their regions for years. I'm going to give you all the details of the plans, the nature of the army, the features, and everything you need to know. Somebody will ask if this is necessary. Asking this question simply means there's something you might not know. After the political shift of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger between 2020 and 2023, when the military took over, there have been a lot of terrorist attacks in the region, but only few come out to the public. To know exactly why Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger have joined together to initiate the One Sahel military, you need to understand the seriousness of the situation these nations found themselves in. The truth is that since the military takeover in Mali 2020 to 2021, Burkina Faso 2020 and Niger 2023, these countries have experienced significant increase in terrorist activity. In 2023 alone, the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, reported over 3,500 terrorist attacks across these nations, resulting in nearly 7,000 fatalities. This is according to ECOWAS reports. Now, breaking these figures by country after country using Punch newspaper reports, note, Punch newspaper report is not a Western media outlet. It's a based newspaper, and it is one of the most widely read publications in Nigeria. And the reason why I'm using their report is that their report respond with that of ECOWAS. When you check the figures, it match up. Now, according to their report on terrorism in the Sahel, Burkina Faso recorded approximately 2,000 attacks in 2023. Mali recorded over 1,044 attacks in that same year. In Niger, around 500 attacks were documented in 2023. And this violence has continued to escalate in the first half of 2024. The fatalities from extremist attacking this reach a high record because the former colonial master is working hard to get them off. So based on this report, you can see the growing security challenges in the Sahel region following the military coup. Now, why create one military to handle the situation once and for all? If you look at it from geographic and common threat, the combined territory of these three nations span around 2.8 million square kilometers. That's 1.1 million square miles. This is an area 4 times the size of France. So this is vast region we are talking about. And for over decades of terrorist threat, despite French troops present to combat the terrorists, they've not been able to end the violence. And we know why. So these brave military leaders took a step towards the regional security. They started doing their best, each nation, but now they want to end it all once and for all. So a unified military force is initiated. People, now Niger's defense minister,
Okay, so that's not good for the West. So we should be expecting they coming with something. Well, they already started. We saw they cut the funding out, but and all these other countries are slowly joining. So you imagine they got 5,000 men just between them three. Imagine they get an army that consists of 50 net countries and come over one army to defend Africa borders. So they're gonna have to do something to cut this off. You should be expecting that. Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. So with that being said, like I said, I go to the Apocrypha, going to First Ezra, and I'm picking up where I left off this morning. I'm in chapter First Ezra 1. First Ezra chapter 9, and I'm reading verses 37 to 55. And this is tied to like I said, you reading right in First Ezra, it's the same way it's gonna happen when we get ready, when our time comes for us to leave here and return back to our land. We got the same thing gotta happen. Because it's no New Testament. So it says right here, it says Ezra reads to the people, right? And if you go back, you remember when Josiah and Hilkiah, they found the book of the law in the bottom of the temple, and he brought it out and read it. So for 490 years, they hadn't been reading that book. That was the reason he sent Nebuchadnezzar and destroyed Babylon. destroyed Israel because they was no longer keeping the law. And that's where we at right now. So it says in verse 37, the priests and the Levites and the Israelites settled in Jerusalem in the country on the new moon of the seventh month. When the people of Israel were in their settlements, the whole multitude gathered with one accord in the open square before the east gate of the temple. And they told Ezra, the chief priest, and the readers and the reader to bring the law of Moses that had been given by the Lord God of Israel. So Ezra the high priest brought the law for all the multitude, men and women, and all the priests to hear the law on the new moon of the seventh month. And he read aloud in the open square before the gate of the temple from early morning until midday in the presence of both men and women, and all the multitude gave attention to the law. Ezra the priest and the readers of the law stood up on a wooden platform that had been prepared, and besides him stood Matthiah, Shema, Ananias, Azariah, Uriah, Hezekiah, and Basimus on his right, and on his left, Pedal, Mishael, Mikijah, Lamentus, Laboria, and Zechariah. Then Ezra took up the book of the law in the sight of the multitude, for he had the place of honor in the presence of all. And when he opened the law, they all stood erect, and Ezra blessed the Lord God of Most High, the God of hosts, the Almighty. And the multitude answered, Amen. And they lifted up their hands and fell to the ground and worshiped the Lord. Josiah and Annas and Sherebeth and Jedinus and Acab, butchering these names, Sheba and Hodiah, Menelaus and Kilthus, Azariah, Josabad, Hannah, Peliah, and the Levites taught the law of the Lord at the same time explaining what was read. So see how that's the purpose of the Levites right there. Then I want to deal with this word right here. If anybody else got the Apocrypha, you can see that word. It says the Antichrist. I don't know why I say that. Said the Antichrist. This is a title, just like Melchizedek said to Ezra, the chief priest, and the reader, and to the Levites who were teaching teaching the multitude, and to all. This day is holy to the Lord. Now they were all weeping as they heard the law. So go your way, eat the fat and drink the sweet, and send portions to those who have none. For the day is holy to the Lord, and do not be sorrowful, for the Lord will exalt you. The Levites commanded all the people, saying, This day is holy, do not be sorrowful. Then they all went their way to eat and drink and enjoy themselves, and to give portions to those who had none, and to make great rejoicing, because they were inspired by the words which had been taught, and they came together. So, like I was saying before, this is what we should be concerned with: coming together, reading His word. We already know He's gonna do what He said. Whatever He spoke, it's gonna happen. But we have to tarry and wait on His timing when He's gonna do it. And in the meantime, this is what we should be doing right here: reading His word, breaking it down, getting all the understanding that we can out of it, and tarrying, waiting on the Lord to do His thing. So anyway, y'all, I'm gonna go back to this word. It's Attaраtes. So a lot of people don't know this, but like I said, that's a title. And if you go to you get
Nehemiah 8 and 9.
okay. If you go to it says right here, a title which occurs five. A title which occurs. Wait a minute. It says a title that occurs. Let me get this. It says a title which occurs uh, 5 times in Ezra and in Nehemiah. Ezra 2 and 6, Nehemiah 7 and 6, 5, the American Standard Revised Version of the English, and the English Revised Version, it means margin, like I was telling you. It means governor, which is king, right? But when you go to when Nebuchadnezzar came and when Cyrus came, they had, just like America is set up, you got 50 states, you got a governor over every state, but you got the president. So in so many words, the president is the king of, and everybody else is they are king in their own right, but because you got the king of kings, they governors. They have to answer to the president. So that's what is a governor, like he was saying in Ezra chapter 1. You got satraps. It's 170. Uh, uh, Nebuchadnezzar and Cyrus was ruling over 172 providences. What they call them providences, we call them states in America. So we had 172 governors, and all of them was under Nebuchadnezzar or Cyrus. That's why they was called King of Kings. So that's what this word means, a governor, right? So it says Nehemiah 8, 9, 10 and 1. Nehemiah is called the same word, Tirsatatha. That's the same word, but in Chaldean, it means this right here in Babylonian, Chaldean, but in the Persian or Greek language, it's this other word right here with the Atth, but it's the same word, means the same thing. It says in Ezra 2 and 263, Nehemiah 765 and 70, it is the title of Sheshbazzar. So this is where the information coming in at. So it's the title of Sheshbazzar. We know what that is. That's Zerubbabel, king. That's what that word means. It's in so, and you got to also look at when Nebuchadnezzar went to Babylon. Went to Jerusalem. He destroyed Jerusalem. He took the king that the Lord of hosts had chose that succeeded Josiah. He took him, Jeconiah. He took him to Babylon with his wife and kids and all of them. This is where Zerubbabel come from. Then he took another seed out of David's lineage, Zedekiah, and changed his name and made him king. So he ain't the real. So you got two kings ruling in Jerusalem. One of them is a lawful king, and the other one is not was given by Nebuchadnezzar, and that's why Zedekiah was so wicked. So the king that Yahweh chose, Nebuchadnezzar took him to Babylon. So anyway, you keep going, and it says, uh, as in Nehemiah 12 and 26, Nehemiah is called, just another word for the same thing, Pechah. That's also mean governor. It's in these different languages. From, a title which is in Ezra 5 and 14 is given to Sheshbazzar, which is Zerubbabel also. And it has been supposed that this word Pete and Tishrod were or equivalent terms, the same mean the same thing, synonyms. And the former being the Assyrian Babylonians. See that? So that peacock, whatever that word is, it's the same thing, but it's in Assyrian. And the latter of the Persian origin, according to it comes from Bactrian or Artarex, I can't say that word. That is he who takes the place of the king. That's what they're saying. So let's look at that. That's what the word means. You got different according to different languages, but so let's I want to show you an example of that. And I was on a line talking to some brothers, and I had to get off the line because they was ignorant to the fact to what was being described. So anyway, Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah, it's a perfect example. You go to Nehemiah, let me get it. Okay. Nehemiah chapter 2. A lot. It says, came to pass in the month of Nisan in the 20th year of Artaxerxes, right? The third king from Cyrus in the Persian. Artaxerxes the king, that wine was brought before him, and that's what Nehemiah's job was, cupbearer. And I took up the wine, I gave it unto the king. Now I had been before time sad in his presence. Wherefore the king said unto me, why is thy countenance sad, seeing that thou art sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then I was very, very so afraid, and said unto the king, let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad when the city and the place of my father's sepulchres lie waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? Then the king said unto me, here we go. The king said unto me, for what doest thou make request? So I prayed to him, and I said unto the king, if it please the king, and if thy servant, him, Nehemiah, have found in thy sight, that thou would have sent me unto Jerusalem, unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, that I may build it. And the king said unto me, the queen also sent by him, for how long shall thy journey be, and when will thou return? So it pleased the king to send him, and I sent him a time. Moreover, I set him a time. Moreover, I said unto the king, if it please the king, let a letter be given me. See that? To the governors beyond the rivers, that's these other provinces, that they may convey me over till I come to Judah. And a letter unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the palace, which are tamed to the house, and for the wall. See that? The wall. This is the Most High, Lord of hosts at work, complete Daniel 9:25, right? It says, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me according to the good of good my God upon me. And then it said, then I came to the governors beyond the rivers, and I gave them the king's letter. Now the king had sent captains of army and horsemen with me. So right here, the letter let them know that he was sent as a governor over. That's where that title come in at. He's not the governor or the king that Most High is dealing with, but he's a governor or this satrap or Tishite, whatever this word is. That's what that means. But actually, Bel is the king, is out of the lineage of David, the actual king of Jerusalem when he comes back. But like I said, when you understand how the Lord of hosts are working, let's look at it. Go to the prophecy. Go to Daniel, right? Okay, keep in mind what this word means, right? It means one in place of the king. So Nehemiah is going to Jerusalem in place of the king. So he gave him a letter, and he got this title right here that we're looking at. We go to Daniel, right, and see how this correlates with what the Lord of hosts said. Go to Daniel 9:25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth for the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, that's Zerubbabel. That same name we're looking at. They saying Messiah, but it's the same name. The same name we dealing with. That's Zerubbabel, right? The Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, 62 weeks. He shall be built again, and the wall. Now that's Nehemiah. That's Nehemiah. Even to troublesome times. Then 26 at 62 weeks, the Messiah, that's Zerubbabel, shall be cut off. He the one built the temple, but not for himself. And the people of the prince, that's Antiochus. But I'm just showing you how that works. That's why you got two of them with the same title, uh, or it's that same word. Because I was looking at that word maybe 10, 12 years ago, and I was like, what the word is this? So I walked it down and I figured out what it was going on with that. So it says, and Nehemiah in 12:26, Nehemiah is called, I read that, say also it has been supposed that Peacock, Tishnah were equivalent terms in the former being the Syrian, Babylonian, and the latter being Persian origin, according to Legrade. It comes from the Bactrian or Arcadian, and that is he who takes the place of the king. That's what that means. According to my whatever, it is a modified form of an old Persian word, torsetta. According to uh, Elad, it is to be compared with the Persian tors, severe or stern law. It seems more probable that it is derived from a Babylonian root, ration, to take possession, from which we get the noun rasha or creditor. In this case, it may well be the sense of a tax collector. One of the principal duties of a Persian, think of the word I was talking about, sestrap or governor, was to access and collect the taxes. This would readily account for the fact that Nehemiah verses 7 and 70, the Tishmite gave to the treasurer to be used in the building of the temple 1,000 drachos of gold, and that in Ezra 8:1 and 8, Cyrus remembered the vessels of the house of the Lord, numbered. Cyrus numbered the vessels of the house of the Lord unto Sheshbazzar. The derivation would connect it with the Aramaic Rasha, creditor, and the new Hebrew Rusha, which is highest power, magistrate. So that's what that word means for anybody that come across it. So, and then, like I said before, we know what a king is in Jerusalem is a Messiah because he's anointed. He's got a David lineage. But you also got a king, which is this word right here, that from a pagan perspective, the king appoint them over a certain district or a certain region. So when you look at that, you see Zerubbabel being this word, same word on front of Zerubbabel name, and you also see it on the front of Nehemiah name, and also on Ezra name. But you got to put it in order. Any comments on that? Any comments? Anybody got any comments on that?
No, sir.
Okay,
So,
so yeah,
Shalom. I have a
okay,
comment that only just a comment that the those words or those titles that have been given, just like Zerubbabel and the architects one, and the four that you just described, those names put on as titles. And you really do, like you say, you really do have to search that, because when you don't know a word and you just shrug it off, you could be missing a whole lot.
right,
Shalom.
exactly. Yeah, it opens scriptures up when you search out those words like that. It opens scriptures up, and then it also If there's any lies being told, it knocks the lies down to the ground. Okay. Anybody got anything else on that? Comments before we go? Okay. Everybody good?
Shalom. Is there going to be a scripture broken down tonight?
Somebody got one, we can break it down. Do anybody have a scripture?
Shalom.
Okay.
In the Apocrypha, in the first book of Enoch, and around the 88th chapter, and a lot of these chapters are his visions that the Lord of hosts tells him of things of old and things to come. So in chapter 88, it says, and I saw one of those four who had come out first, and he seized the first star which had fallen from heaven and bound it hand and foot and cast it into an abyss. Now that abyss was narrow and deep and horrible and dark, and one of them drew a sword and gave it to those elephants and camels and donkeys. Then they began to strike each other, and the whole earth quaked because of them. And as I was beholding in the vision, one of those four who had come out of the heaven stoned them and gathered them and took all of the great stars whose genitals were like those of horses and bound them all hand and foot and cast them in the abyss of the earth. Is this, can you expound on this vision that Enoch had here?
Okay, so like I was saying, if you go to Ezekiel chapter 1, the cloud, remember Ezekiel described the cloud?
Yes, sir.
It was four creatures in the cloud with him, right?
Right.
That's the same four
That's the
beings
same.
right there. That's
Oh,
Michael, Gabriel,
okay.
Raphael, and Uriel. Let me get it right here. So you go in the book of Enoch, you go to chapter 71, verse 14, book of Enoch.
Yes, sir. Okay, 71 and verse 14.
You see the four right there?
Yes, sir.
Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and female.
Okay.
That's who we got. And then at the Tower of Babel, the same four came down again. That's the same four. So anyway, it's another place. Chapter 54, verse 6. This is actually what the verse is talking about. Chapter 54 and 6.
Okay.
You see?
Yes, sir. And Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Phanuel will take hold of them on the great day and cast them on that day into the burning furnace, and the Lord of spirits may take vengeance on them for the unrighteousness and becoming subject to Satan and leading those who dwell on the earth astray.
Right. So that's what he's talking about over here. But go back to 88, and then it says, verse 1, I saw one of those four who came forth first, and he seized the first star which had fallen from heaven and bound it and hand and foot and cast it into the abyss. Now that the abyss was narrow and deep and horrified, that's Aziel. If we go back in the beginning of the Enoch, he sent Michael to bound Aziel, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what that is. Then then one of them drew a sword. We know what that is, and gave it to those elephants and camels, asses. Then they began to smite each other, and the whole earth quaked because of them. And as I was beholding in the vision, lo, one of those four who had come from the stone, who came forth, stoned them from heaven, and gathered and took all the great stars whose privacy members were like horses and bound them. So that's what I was just showing. That's what the four angels. Michael was the one in charge. So they bound those 200 angels.
Yes, sir.
And then some, and then we know.
Yes, sir.
So just one of the things I was saying, how you get understanding. People say, well, how you get this idea? So the same thing right there. We see the four angels came, right? And one of them stoned them. He said one of them stoned those giants, right?
Yes, sir.
So go to Genesis 18. Go to and we start at Genesis 18 verse 1. We see that just came, right?
Yes, sir.
Three angels in verse 1. It says verse 2, and I lifted up my eyes and looked at lo, three men stood by him, right?
Yes, sir.
These angels. But we know what we just read is four of them, right?
Yes, sir.
So now Michael, Gabriel, Raphael with him, right? So he goes to talk to Abraham because he want to tell Abraham he's gonna have a son. Then go to Genesis, 19, verse 24. It's the reason that one of them not with him. You're in 24.
Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstones and fire from the Lord out of heaven.
So right there, hold it right there. So is Michael in heaven, or is Michael one of those three?
Michael one of the three, because he brought Raphael
So
and
the other one is
Gabriel
in
with
heaven.
him.
That's
And
why it
putting
ain't four of
on.
them.
Right.
That's why it's not four of them. The other one, which is when you go back and look at their roles, you'll see. Go to chapter 20. Enoch chapter 20.
Yes, sir.
So it says the top roles says these first 20 and 1, and these are the names of the holy angels. That's the seven that watch. Uriel, one of the holy angels, who is over the world and over Tartarus. That's hell. One of the holy angels, two. Raphael, one of the holy angels, who is over spirits of men. And Raguel, one of the holy angels, who is over the vengeance of the world and luminaries. See that? So Raguel is over luminaries.
Okay.
So he the one stoned him. He's the same one stoned Sodom and Gomorrah. So when you go back and read it, it says, then the Lord rained down upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plains and all of the city that which grew upon the ground. But his wife, so we see right here, that's why it wasn't three of them. But we see all the scriptures normally is four. But the one that's over the luminaries and all that, what we call the asteroid belt and all that, he's up there because of when they got to where they was going, then he rained down brimstone and fire from heaven. Same thing when they was in Egypt. When Michael was in Egypt, but it said fire and brimstone came from heaven. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But when you understand who they are, when like he said, when Gabriel, let's look at it. Yeah, I'll close out. When you look at Genesis 32. Okay, it says he wrestled with an angel. Verse 24. Genesis 32 and 24. Jacob was left alone, and there he wrestled with a man. This the Lord host, Michael, of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. And he wrestled with him. And the Lord, and he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, he don't tell him his name. I believe he did, but he says that he said Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be not called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him, and said, "Tell me, I pray thee thy name." And he said, "Wherefore is it that thou doest ask after my name?" And he blessed him there. Now here you go. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life was preserved. So he ain't see Yahweh. He saw this angel that's in Yahweh's image. The seven of them. They was formed. They was formed by the Yahweh in His image. So when you see
Yes.
either one of them, you see. That's how you have to. That's how you have to understand that. And when it's being conveyed, you have to understand that.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
knew there was seven, and so when I read that it was four, and I was
Right.
wondering where because the four do go in packs, but I know there was one missing somewhere.
Right.
Yes, yes,
So the
sir.
four of them, the reason it's four from Ezekiel chapter 1, they carrying His throne.
Mm-hmm. Yep, one on
That's
each.
why it's four of
I
them.
knew
Yeah.
that.
So yeah. And then, like I said, they got roles. Then they not gonna go
Yep.
outside their role. Whatever role it is they got. That's why Jacob asking him what his name was. Because whatever if he tells him his name, then Jacob know what his role is.
Right.
So that's why he asking for his name, because his name tell you what he is. Okay.
And right, and what his job, what his responsibility is as well. Yes, sir.
Right. Exactly. And that's what we need to do. Once we find out,
Yeah.
you can the
Mm-hmm.
scriptures open up. Once you find out what these how the role these angels playing in their name. Yeah. So anybody
Mm-hmm.
else got anything else before we vacate?
Shalom, no, sir.
Okay. Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Shalom, shalom. I see y'all tomorrow for our Sunday Bible study. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it, because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up, and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is, and the Godhead.